see much of Sarah since I'm here.
Good.
Yes, everyone's here.
It'll be less of
So,
a
whenever you're ready, we are broadcasting.
actually working out.
I think your presence alone will be the difference.
No, I've been going to it for a long time. I didn't complain that it was breakfast and lunch.
Okay.
Not a whole
Right, okay.
I'm not going to complain because it's Spanish either.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Second? All in favor? Opposed? So now we need to have the approval of the minutes. Chance to read them? Any changes? Do I have a motion? I make that motion. Second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next thing is the Indiana State Library report. Anna?
Ma'am, just 1 second. All right. First up, we have some changing faces here at the State Library. As hopefully all of you know by now, Shauna Borger, who's been with the Evergreen Project now for 3 years, has accepted a position at University of Wisconsin Parkside. She actually started yesterday, I believe. So we'll miss all of her valuable contributions, but wish her the best moving forward. And I would like to take the opportunity to introduce you to our newest regional coordinator, Amber Painter. Amber comes to us from Mitchell Community, so she has a lot of experience with Evergreen, which hopefully will put her in good stead when it comes time for me to throw her in front of a whole classroom full of people and say, "Teach Evergreen." We continue to plan for the upgrade this winter. Originally, we talked about version 2.6. Now it looks like 2.7 is going to be fully stable by late fall, and other consortium will have already landed on 2.7. So we're going to go ahead and target 2.7, provided that the other consortia that are looking at it do not experience problems before we get there. And as posted out a couple, 3 weeks ago, we have shifted the schedule up by a day because only 9 libraries in the consortium were open on Christmas Eve. We moved it up by a day so that we can get it completed even faster and potentially have some time for someone to celebrate the holidays.
Fully expect to not be working. I think it'll go fine.
What time is it?
6 o'clock on the 23rd.
That's right.
Mm.
Something from that earlier, like 4 o'clock.
Oh.
I don't know, that was later, yeah, they were outcries. We've been watching a standing for an hour, and I did think that seemed likely.
Yeah, well, we did for the last upgrade, we had to switch the times later because we did run into that. But
If I go much earlier than 6.
Migration updates, the Royal Center project, they have more than 20,000 items cataloged, so they are moving right along. That's 3,000 volumes, more than 3,000 volumes since we met last. Puts them at about 65% of their targeted or expected total volume. So 2/3 of the way there, and we are at 10 months, so excellent progress. The North Madison County project, we are data testing and actually trying to rework the deduplication scripts for migration right now. Their go live has been postponed to October due to some staff emergencies on site. So they're still very excited. As a matter of fact, I spoke with Jamie on Friday, and they're having meetings and planning, and I feel like they're really making excellent progress. I fielded a couple of questions from the community at large and wanted to share these figures with you. As you know, we've been live in the payment project now for 3 full quarters. I've got to the third quarter from last year on there to show the difference between when we started with the pilots to now. You see the big jumps, of course, in the first 2 quarters of this year as we brought the credit card program online. In the first 2 quarters, we processed almost $8,000 in credit card payments. So it's definitely seeing regular use. And as of this morning, we only had, I believe, 5 libraries outstanding on quarter 2. So chances are good we'll actually get the money out for the second quarter within just a couple of weeks of the money from the first quarter. So, but it's going very well.
And is there some specific reason, or is it almost why it's a library or something?
As much as anything, it's because it's a quarterly bill, it sometimes slips under the radar for some of the smaller libraries. So I reached out to everybody this last week and got emails back from them saying, oh, sorry, we'll have it to you this next week. So fingers crossed we could be done by the end of this week with collection and turn things right around. So that would be very exciting.
Move on to the committee report. Okay.
So, we have 2 new committee members, Wendy Page of Shelby County and Sandra Osborne of Northside. We have another committee member, another person agreed to join the committee and so officially show her at our next meeting, Martha Boyer of Jacksonville County. And we had 1 resignation, Margaret Carter. We just met a couple of weeks ago in 2 locations. We had a number of the community members spend a whole day working on updating the cataloging manual, so we're trying to parse through all of the chapters that hadn't been updated into point versions, updated to the current version. So, and we made great progress, and so we started a bunch of chapter updates.
The content meeting was canceled for this month because we didn't have enough fodder for discussion. We'll be meeting again in October. The one update for those of you who did participate, the pronunciator group buy went very well. We ended up with, I believe, 13 libraries in the initial group, and they have agreed to leave it as open enrollment for any library that would like to join, at least until the end of the year. So if you know anybody that's still on the fence, they are still honoring that pricing and accepting new entrants.
And I will say we were one of those libraries and we got phenomenal from our,
Excellent.
from our teachers. I mean, more than any other digital content we've ever offered them.
Wow.
Did you have any other software, I mean, like,
No.
did you have mango languages or?
No. But I will tell you, I tested those and I actually, for a while, used Rosetta Stone myself. And I went in and looked at this and it's really, really good, especially if it's right. I mean, it's not like graduate, but it's really good. You can do as much or as little as you want to do, and there's a lot of them. Just by wrong.
So if the library would want to.
Go ahead and join.
In the open, what can.
Just send me an email and I will put you in contact and let them, you know, as the pass-through so that they know that you're part of our group.
And the turnaround's really quick. I mean, because I joined not with the original group, but what, maybe 2 weeks ago or something?
Something like that, yeah.
And we're already up and running.
Okay.
Now, we have rocket languages too, and it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have rocket languages and pronunciator for a while.
Okay.
So I'm going to go totally by how much they're used to determine which one I'm going to hang on. So.
And I will say, using it on the PC, there's apps for it. Using it on the PC, there's too many clicks. I will say that to get to the actual software, there are too many. But once you get
And their marketing stuff, I was really impressed. We got T-shirts, and we got T-shirts. We got 4 T-shirts. We got the postcards. We got the bookmarks, and we got, of course, the post. Yeah. So I was like, what? Okay.
Yeah, that was part of the promise package. So if you didn't get it, do go ahead and send them an email. Hey. Patron Services has 5 new members. Laura Brzezinski from Morgan County, Christina Heim from Jackson County, Portia Capron from Monticello Union Township, Celia Bandelier from Roanoke, and Karen Call from Union County. That actually means that for once we have a full roster on that committee, and 3 of that group were able to attend the handoff meeting. So they're getting to hit the ground running. Their new officers, Jennifer McKinley from Morgan County is the new chair, Laura Hull from Peabody is the chair-elect, and Sandy Rowland from Westfield, Washington is the new secretary. We have gone ahead out of that last meeting and implemented the new manual billing types, since those were in very high demand, and it's been something that's been on the table for about a year. So we got those in, got them implemented. I've gotten some very positive feedback. I don't know if you've heard from your staff, but I have heard some good things, so something to keep in mind. And they made many, many, many recommendations that we're going to talk about later. So. Okay, there is a map here and a breakout of how we have committee representation. We have everyone has been just tremendous about volunteering to go to the different sites and participate, provide an ear to our constituents. Targeted libraries that were in the middle of a 65-mile radius. That was about the closest I could get and cover the entire state, but fortunately we were able to find sites that were available and willing to host, so it should be a very fun time. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you out in the field at one or many places.
Is there going to be an agenda?
There's not going to be a formal agenda, but I am going to put together a list of discussions because I've tried a couple of open meetings now, and sometimes that works really well and sometimes it doesn't, and I think having a little bit of structure would be helpful. So yeah, probably at least some of the big topics that are affecting the consortium, which people along with coming up with questions.
Is it okay to invite non-Evergreen?
Sure.
Because I was.
Why not?
Okay. One way to learn about it.
Yeah.
And also, and I'm sure this is probably run out, what is the time frame of process when it starts? The first one is September 8th, and the last one is October 22nd. No, I mean, like, what time during the day?
Oh, mornings. It's 10 to noon or 9:30 to 11:30, depending on where it was. Yeah.
Not.
No, I don't want anybody to get too exhausted. If we have really, really good discussions, you know, we can carry it on over lunch. But my goal is to not take too much time out of people's days. And I'm really hoping we're going to see, and registration so far would indicate we're going to see more frontline staff attending these, which is who would really like to get a chance to talk to. I enjoy talking to all my directors, but I don't always get a chance to talk to the frontline people and find out what they're encountering. So. Mm-hmm.
Okay, new business. Regional EC support assignment.
As you may remember, last fall, when we were ramping up for the payment program, I asked each of you to take over a region of the state. Since we have new faces and slightly rearranged geographic situations, I've provided a set of recommendations. Kyle, I actually had you moving than Krista taking over your region. But if you guys want to split these out a different way, I'm completely open to it. This is just who seemed sort of geographically appropriate. We're definitely clustered here towards central Indiana, but in the actual library lists, grays are schools, so they tend to be less affected, or I deal with them directly, and blues represent libraries that are already on the committee. So Cheryl has a lot of those. Maybe help out with somebody else who's having trouble contacting people. And green are people who are in the process of coming on. So.
If we have somebody that is coming on, do you want us to make an effort to be there when they go live?
If you can be, that's great. I certainly wouldn't make it a requirement, but the more supportive. I mean, we're really building community right now. I see a lot more of that going on. So I would love to see representatives from the EC able to, if not attend the go live, drop in that first week at some point. And how's it going? What did the state library forget to tell you? So are we okay with this set of assignments right now? If I hear from a library and they want to talk to somebody else, you guys all okay with who's on your list?
So should I try to go to the southwestern then too? Since I'm kind of in the middle, in the round table.
You already committed to 2 of them, right?
No, I just did
Okay. Sorry, I'm losing track here.
I just didn't know.
I put myself down as committed too, because I'm like, heck with this in Western Washington. There's something weird about that day.
Yeah, I don't know what my schedule, I just didn't know if since I'm.
If you could make it, that would be great. As I say, partly because then you can. It's nice because they can put a face with a name.
Yeah. Okay.
That was one of the things I got a few questions about this last round of elections, but I don't know who they are. We're working on it. Great.
Okay, patron services recommendation.
All right, here we go. I'm going to jump into the middle of the next page in your packet. Over time, we've had several requests for some sort of solution for putting together classroom sets. And the 20-item hold limit has been a threshold that has been impactful at several libraries now. So the recommendation from the Patron Services Committee is that we increase the number of holds for outreach cards to 50. And then the second part of the patron matrix update is the new patron type. We have discussed this, I believe, the last 2 meetings, so this shouldn't be a major surprise for you. But this has been officially put together now. We have a definition to be entered into policy, a line item in the matrix, and a sample sponsor form that's also in your packet. Yes. And we're trying to leave it as open as possible. We would like there to be some sort of sponsorship arrangement, but you can take this form and modify it as you need to if you do decide to implement it. And the decision of who's eligible to be a sponsor, the library might choose to be the sponsor if there's someone on staff who's willing to take the time to work with members of your community in this situation.
Can you go back to the outreach profile?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody that has an issue with that?
How do most libraries use that? Because I think we actually have like a huge page on Skype, like,
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't think it would be an issue with increasing.
And I think
Yeah.
the ones that would be an issue with are the ones that maybe have kids in it anyway. Which in whole has not been an issue.
Most of my outreach patrons are elderly, because
Yeah.
the CVPs only have.
And you already have policies that how you can sit on
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other institution that schools and nursing homes sometimes are the two primary that I see.
They would only be for that part. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, if it turns out that it's not that big a deal and libraries want to roll it out to other profile types, we can, but for now, this is filling a need that's been identified multiple times.
So that's the only two.
Those are the only two changes to the patrons.
Okay.
And
go ahead and
I do need an approval on those, please.
have a motion to approve these exchanges on the patron rate. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
I thought we had a teacher, somebody, we don't have very many teachers that come in
Mhm.
that are not from our county, but teach in our county.
Right, and that's currently written for personal use rather than classroom use. The teacher reciprocal borrower profile is intended for personal use, although some teachers do use it to supplement for their classroom.
Oh, yeah, I mean, she was wanting in for a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you use the reciprocal borrower? Is that what you use?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
For the personal, but then we will, if you're wanting to do one of the larger volumes for a classroom under the auspices of a school or a nursing home, you could use the outrage profile.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, circulation modifier.
Okay, it seems like everyone is adding additional either tablets and or e-readers to their collection this summer and fall. So there's been a lot of traffic on the lists, and one of the things that I kept getting questions about is there any way for us to not have to put in the fines manually, because 25 cents is not enough of a barrier on a $1,000 piece of equipment. Surprise, surprise. The other thing that was interesting is we ran into a lot of people who are cataloging their electronics as realia because the cert periods on equipment did not fit their needs. So I went back and checked, and as of June this year, there were only 9 items that had circulated in the previous year using a 3-day period. So we picked that one to swap out for 14 days, which is how long most people wanted to circulate their e-readers or tablets. And we're adding a $5 a day high fine option. It is optional. If you want to keep things simple, have 25 cents at your library, you can. But if you want to charge a higher fee, all you have to do is change one drop down in the item attributes, and then you're good to go. And the fine ranges that I did collect ranged between $2 and $10, so 5 seemed a nice, reasonable mid-figure. Mm-hmm.
So that then we would have to use the drop down instead. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But we have a lot of people already using the 7-day period for various things. So I wasn't sure how many people were circulating stuff on one day, but we actually have more people using that than I thought. So, and of course, if you have a specialty piece of equipment, you can always put in a custom due date over a weekend or what have you. I've done that before.
Any questions? We have a motion to go for a pizza. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Settled items range.
I actually have a real quick thing about the equipment. It's not related to anything here on the form, so I didn't want to interrupt the vote, but we need to think of a max fine amount. Because $10 is also not a deterrent, so we just that's not listed on here because that's dealt with somewhere else. But 100 seems low. 500 would work. Because it would also, there is also that setting that caps it at the item's price. So as long as you catalog things correctly, I think it would be 500 or less. That's
I would, the things that I would like.
Should it be higher?
well, if it's capped at the item price, we could make it
That's not,
5,000.
that's not the replacement price, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
the fine.
Yeah.
So, I can even get the
Okay.
Well, sometimes it's the oddball equipment. I mean, we had an inflatable screen that we used to loan out, but, you know, the actual price of it was, I think, $2,500 if we'd had to replace it, but, so it would be a rare situation, probably, that you're going to hit that threshold very often.
If you actually lost the item, this plus the replacement, so.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like you need to pay $2,500.
No. No.
Right.
And so then it's like, and with 250.
At what point in time?
Yeah.
Or it's not.
I mean, 225, 45 days at $5 a day, that's big.
Okay.
So, it's fair. But are there libraries who say that you're charging up $2 a day?
I think if they don't have to put it in manually, we're going to see everyone shipped back to 5 just fine.
Because if we had $10 a day the next week.
The problem is, right now, when people are doing it, they are putting them in manually as grocery bills. So it wouldn't capture as part of the max fine.
Okay. It seems like we get $500.
Yeah. Even it out at 200 or 25.
Is there a motion or anything? Or is that just a procedural thing?
Like this shows these maps that it could be extra,
Yeah,
you know?
it can't be any higher. It's not a deterrent, it's much lower.
I can check and see if there's a place policy that affects it. But yeah, we can talk with patron services about that. Okay, right now, when an item is lost or damaged and then paid for, it sits there in the catalog until your cataloger does a cleanup on it. What we would like to do is actually automate that process so that we don't have years and years of lost and paid for items sitting around in the catalog, which we currently do. We talked about it, and the window that we're looking at is delaying by 6 months. That way, in case disaster strikes, patron thinks they lose something, pays for it, then it's found on your shelves. Woo-hoo, magic. which happens every once in a while. You'll have a window in which to work with the patron on the item before it just disappears. If by some chance you ended up getting an item back at 6 months and a day, your cataloger would just have to recatalog it. But talk to the catalogers about it, and they didn't generally think they saw too much of that. And
Actually, we see a fair amount of whether by hand or by automated, at least they do stuff moving it by hand. They're not, you're not, we're throwing it in cataloging. They're cataloging it.
and one restriction I got from both committees, patron services and cataloging, was that they wanted to know ahead of time what items were about to disappear, just so that they made sure that they had either already replaced the item or make plans to address that collection if there is alternate title that would be a better fit going forward.
That also takes time if you do buy identical items, just to take apart. So, the entire
Yeah. And as long as you just replace the barcode, it's not in the status.
it can be lost for a few months.
Mhm.
Paid for, and then
And if it's lost and not paid for, nothing happens. It just stays there. And the other housekeeping piece is the new conversion. Right now, we've had a couple of odd situations come up because items were moved from the new section of a library into the regular stacks, and then someone tries to put a hold on it from another part of the state and can't figure out why they can't put a hold on, because this library's had the book for 5 years. We go back and look, and it's a circ modifier that got missed. So the other thing we would like to do is for DVDs, videos, and books, if they have the item type new, book new, DVD R-rated new, after 12 months, the system will automatically roll them over into book, DVD R-rated, or video. If the catalogers, if or circulation staff have time to make the conversion earlier when they're actually clearing the new shelves, that's fine. But this will at least catch all of those items that managed to make it out on the shelf because somebody had it out for 6 months and nobody realized when it came back in it needed the attention.
And we'll find ones that they say they're new and then they're on the new shelf and they never get changed because they disappeared and now they're replaceable. Oh, that's been missing for.
Yeah. Oh, I had a few of those. I can remember that. Bought a whole new collection and they disappeared within a week. Those are here. So, we have permission to do this?
Motion to approve this housekeeping. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
So who will the report go to?
We will make templates available and you can determine in-house who needs to get them.
In terms of the report, so, wait, what's going on?
There is actually already a lost and a listing report. I don't remember what it's got. It's up.
Well, we have
It's
to
titled.
today, I'd like this.
Yeah,
Well,
send me an
yeah,
email.
yeah. But there is something you could already go and look at, and if there's something missing, let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually have multiple versions. There's one in my folder that actually lists the prices that were on the item record. Yeah, and Jason's got a more streamlined version that runs a lot faster because it doesn't hook through 3 other tables.
Holds, soft stall reading space.
Yes. Those of you who were early, we talked a little bit about this already. What the soft stall does is it prevents an item that's sitting on your shelf that your patron requests from being captured at another library for a period of time. we're wanting to put a one-day window on this so that your staff have a chance to get out to the shelf and grab it before it's captured at some other library's circulation desk opportunistically. This won't particularly affect high-demand items that are in constant transit, but if it's something that you have on your shelf, that way you don't have to mess with transiting at all.
I actually heard about this in Virginia more than once, because this is what will stop that situation where a patron puts something on hold on the shelf, and then half an hour later someone goes to print a hold list and it's not on there because it's already in transit to the library. Where this really matters is check-in, because right now anybody checks in any item and it could be put in transit, still a hold, even if there is a copy on the shelf. So giving it a day, that's plenty of time for your shelvers or search staff to go find it and on hold locally.
Any other discussion, questions? Sounds good. I can move on.
So,
Is that a motion to- Second. All in favor? User identification, municipal license.
yeah, this was brought to the state library's attention as a result of immigration reform issues that are gaining ground. This particular article that I have a link for here was reprinted in a couple of Indiana newspapers. And it allows for municipalities to issue official identification on their own terms. So I went back and checked the policy, and our current policy is a government-issued ID. But I wanted to get this on your radar in case this is something that we felt needed specific attention. Apparently, the municipal ID option is in significant use in some of the major metropolises. New York is putting it into practice and allowing people to get library cards, use health care, vote, regardless of their immigration status. So I don't know that we have any municipalities in Indiana right now that are in an Evergreen Library District that are interested in issuing these, but it's something to keep in mind. So I think we are actually covered if we want to incorporate the use of municipal IDs as an option. I think we're already covered with our current language, but it may be something we see arise in if they're, depending on how things continue to play out. And I know we have a couple of libraries that have very active migrant communities. So.
Has anyone expressed any resistance to using municipal ID or like that?
I think it's really early in the conversation. I just heard about this for the first time about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Maybe something maybe bring up at the round table.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just be something that's flying under the radar. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm all for it, and I would love to see everybody embrace using alternative IDs to send people as possible. But I can only imagine that there are people who don't share my as well.
That's fair.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of people who don't agree with me.
My staff is very rigid. It must be a driver's
Yeah.
license or state ID. I'm like, well, no, it's government ID. They bring in a passport. What is the Mexican passport? And the government of Mexico issued it, and it's a government ID. So, so to me, it's not that there's an issue of this, they get hyper-focused. I did it, it must go for everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to be a conversation.
Yeah, I think so.
There are an impressive number of government ID options out there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So,
But I think that we in management realize that and all the implications and think about the implications a little bit more than, say, my student worker or my 3-month annual circulation. So, because I think it will be an issue, maybe not next year, but 3 years or 5 years.
okay. Don't have any actual motions on that one. It's just a heads up.
Can you email us that link? I think.
Sure, and it's an incredibly long one, so yes. This next is something that is coming out of the state library as a statewide program. You may or may not be aware of the book club programs that the ISL and Indiana Humanities provide to libraries and institutions around the state. But Indiana Humanities is partially cataloged into Evergreen, and Suzanne Walker, who's the head of the youth literacy program, would like to bring her collection on, but one of their restrictions was they really need to be able to put reservations in. They need to book things out in advance so that things are handled appropriately, and in order to actually cut their workload, because right now they're managing it all pretty much by hand. They'd like to automate it, and Evergreen has that capability, so we are going to attempt to bring it online this fall. To do so, we'll be creating a new user type that is will not affect 99% of your users. So we are bringing it on as an ISL element. Set users, we are also changing the language a little bit. We aren't calling them book club kits, which is what they've been called now forever. We're going to call them sets because we already have kits in Evergreen. The set users will only have access to sets. So if your library would like to start cataloging book club sets that you happen to have, or if you've had them and they've been gathering dust in the back because it's such a hassle to actually get them out and circulating, we're hopeful that this program will actually make it possible for you to get them out and circulating. There will be a special registration form that users will have to fill out. They must be at least sponsored by a library that's on InfoExpress if they aren't a library that's on InfoExpress. And they will be able to place volume level holds, which is something that is different from all of the rest of our users, because they need to be able to pick which set is going to fulfill their needs. There will also be no circulation fines based on the current policies and practices of the two agencies.
So, the question about volume level, we need to be able to that's our going to be cataloged individually.
No. No, we're going to put them in as volumes.
So can I only place volume in? That you go on the
Yeah, because, you know, I might only need 5 more, and you need 10 more. And so, but there's no set, sets are 12. Right?
Well, that's a risk you already run. Depending on who's lending, a lot of places will not break up sets. You get the set or you don't.
Indiana Humanities, you get what you ask for.
Yes, and she's generally the exception.
Okay.
I know Suzanne, it's you request the set, you get the set. And it's not just books. I will say that as well. She also has her program in a bag sets that will be going into this implementation.
I'm not understanding the user type.
We had to have a separate user type because it was the only way to get full exclusivity for the items.
So there are people that will only be borrowing from those sets.
Right, because this will not be a traditional Evergreen card. They won't have access to the consortium. The only thing that they will have access to are these sets,
The ISL.
plus any sets that the member libraries choose to make available.
So I could have a user who's
Mm-hmm.
they could have a card. That's what they're.
Book club. Mm-hmm. And if they need multiples, we actually.
They just have like the Peregrine Literary Society has one card.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I will have to talk with you further about the actual cataloging practices. But the biggest problem with breaking them out into all the different sets is if someone needs Hunger Games, they don't want to have to wade through 12 different. The idea is that they don't have to wade through 12 different records to find the one that's the right size. They open up a single record, pick which set is the right one for them, and place the hold on it immediately.
So it would be like, if you have a record that's like Hunger Games set,
Mm-hmm.
and then, there are going to be totally different, like, set of 10s, set of 20s, set of 30.
Yes. And we're talking about using copy notes to do that so that it's immediately apparent.
Set of 10s, set of 20s.
Yeah, I don't, is there a limit on the length of call number strings?
Pretty long.
We have some
Pretty
really
long.
Well,
And depending, it didn't occur to me earlier, but we may end up doing this parts instead of volumes.
Yeah, hard.
works too.
But
And then
that's-
you don't have to set it so that they can place volume for the anyway.
That's kind of a little
And
bit
you
of
can
a
make-
temptation.
You can make a requirement that if you catalog a set, it has to have parts. Because part of the problem with sets with parts is that some people catalog things on the record with parts and some don't, and that causes all kinds of problems. It's really helpful.
Yeah, each.
If we make the rule for sets all or nothing, that'll help, and that'll solve almost all the problems that we have with parts.
So does each item within the set have its own bibliographic record and then there's a parent record?
Mm-mm.
Just a record for several items.
Again, that's what I'm thinking about, is the joint
You
part.
could actually do
But
that.
that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about.
We're trying to make it very simple.
Yeah, this is a box of 10 of the same book.
But
That's all.
you were talking about, though, that programs in a box that Suzanne has, or
Mhm.
whatever it's called. I mean, that's not necessarily
That's
a
not-
set of books in it.
Yeah, that's why for that sort of thing, I would make sure that it would have.
It would still have to
It's a
circulate.
different animal than
In a book, in a
just
book
a
set.
box of books. Where if it has like, a box of books and audiobooks and programs.
So is anyone opposed to us developing sets and set users?
I think that is great.
Okay.
Developing a set and a set user.
Okay. So
We'll
then Nani
keep
can
working
work
on it.
with cataloging committee and such to get the logistics worked out.
And we have a lot of stuff.
The other big thing with this is there'll be a new CERC modifier that has much extended circulation periods because most book club groups don't want the book for 3 weeks. They want it for at least 2 months, 6 weeks. But we've got 8 week, 6 week, and 12-week options. So
We need to do anything like this now.
just tell me that you're not absolutely opposed, and we'll move forward. More game to go with it? All right. All right. It's early days yet, I know, and you all are probably fighting with your own local budgets. But we started talking, there's been several times now when it's come up the subject of the Evergreen money. One of these days, we're actually going to have our own money to do stuff with. Well, we need to start planning now for exactly how that's actually going to be used. So I've got a draft of projected costs that could play into our plans down the road. The one that is fairly non-negotiable is the equipment refresh. We are very, very near end of life on our equipment, so we will need to dedicate as much money as we can towards getting that refresh in place as soon as possible. It will probably be over the period of a couple of years at least.
Yeah. The fact that it needs done is not negotiable. The time frame is slightly more so, especially given these dollar amounts.
But I know one of the things we've talked about is folding in all of the meeting costs so that the only cost to participants is travel. So that's a line item I've put on here. We've had some excellent guest speakers in the last year. I think it would behoove us to continue to seek out opportunities to bring in excellent speakers when we can.
Could that possibly also include spending
That is a line on here. Excuse me. Yeah. I put 2,000 with the idea being, 4 $500 scholarships that covers at least the cost of registration for the international conference, and then plane tickets. Plane ticket in the hotel. No, we don't. For all we know, it could be very close and very cheap. Yes. Development. I know we're always anxious to see new development. The new OPAC contract, enhancements contract, I'm working on. Our vendor, who is able to provide us with everything we're asking for, targets at $43.99, I think, for the first year, with a 3% increase year over year. So 45 is approximately where we'll be once we have funding. And then support. I know there have been multiple requests about getting someone in to assist with the catalog cleanup. Whether or not we're able to do that in one fell swoop with a vendor, or whether or not we can bring in someone, that remains to be seen, as in part due to how much money we're able to put together toward that project. The next line doesn't make a whole lot of sense until we talk about things later. And I've had requests from several libraries recently about what sort of promotional materials do we have for Evergreen. I have a celebration coming up. I have an anniversary coming up. I'd like to celebrate with my community. Do we have anything? So I thought it might be nice if we could plan on some sort of distribution once a year where there's even something small, get pencils printed or something like that to help promote in your community, something you can give away. So things to think about. If you have other ideas, things that you want to put on, we don't have any money yet, so it's all funny money at the moment. But it's certainly good to get it on the list as soon as possible so that we can start planning. It may be something that we can do, and maybe not now, but something that we could plan for that we hadn't considered putting together.
So these servers,
am
I hearing correctly that this is not necessarily something, this is not an annual expenditure?
Oh, no.
This is a one-time thing that's going to happen over a multitude of years.
Yeah, these current machines are
Tell me exactly how that is.
No. I mean, I think they're easily 6 years old. And some of them are older, and I think I have one of the original pieces of equipment still running. No, okay. So most of them are a little less than 6.
Right.
A couple are 6. But they have never been shut off intentionally. And very few of their parts have been replaced over the years. I'm very lucky about how good good the quality was when we got everything, but everything works great until that one day, and it just doesn't.
So are you looking at potentially replacing them one a year over the next 2 years?
It would have to be spaced out, yeah. And
So $250,000 a year?
yeah, and that's a rough estimate. I don't have any quotes because they're not going to be good in 2 or 3 years. So it could come down possibly. Hopefully it wouldn't be much over 250 with.
Because the income, I mean, that's for 1 year, but then looking at the expenditures, and that's not for 1 year, so.
This is more of a wish list almost.
Okay.
Do you anticipate that every 6 years is like a rough lifespan for them, that that's all an issue? So once we get these replaced, we have like a regular.
There should probably be a replacement plan. The other issue is these 3 are only the most important 3. We actually, we close to 15 or 20 total machines. They're not all nearly that high. The databases are worse because they're extreme RAM disk environments. But yeah, they're all older.
Is there a way that you can come back with a little bit more definitive list of what exactly the equipment is, as well as possible replacement samples that it annually?
Try.
And by the way, you must make sure my carpet stays clean. I'll do any of this.
I'm just looking at the 765,000. Years that we have $127,000 set aside every year. Let's fix our budget.
Right.
But
Well,
only 2016
It's
is not full membership.
Right.
So, even full membership fees.
Right, well, and that's not counting for the LSTA money and the ISL money.
Well, chances are good the LSTA money will begin to fade soon.
Okay, and what does soon mean?
And fade is.
There are other demands on the state,
Of course.
so.
I would be surprised if anything happened before the membership fee kicked in. But I could see in 2016 when the membership fee kicks in, there are some things on the expenditures that are difficult, if not impossible, for us to get as a state that would make sense for the membership fee to go to, and that may reduce the Evergreen grant by that much. And then it's still obviously an incredible resource sharing product. So I see.
If we had to make it all in 1 year,
In 1
certainly,
year.
but
That's
that's,
why I say if you can.
Yeah, and the database machines especially, one will make a huge difference because if reports don't get any faster, I don't hear any complaining about them yet. So, yeah. So the first one will make the biggest difference, and that can be whatever, space them out. And also, when I say we have nearly 20 machines, they do not all have to be current. 3 to 5 of those are migration and development machines, which, while it's fun to play with new toys, I'm certain I can provide fairly old equipment on those. So it doesn't have to be quite so bad.
So is there a way to look at projected income beyond 2016? I mean, as we think that the LSTA funding is going to be fading, and
well, what do you think your budget's going to look like in 5 years?
fairly similar to what it looks like right now.
I love that.
Not a lot though, because we're getting hit by capital.
That's kind of where we are. We're assuming, yeah, I'm guessing we're probably going to see approximately $270,000 a year draws once we actually go live for the first 3 to 5 years. So that's what we will have to work with. LSTA funding, we're going to do the best we can, but between cuts happening in Washington that we have no direct control over, and the fact that we have been extraordinarily fortunate over the last 7 years with this, will mean that there probably will be some loss. By getting out with the membership fee when we do, while it all seems to coincide, chances are good we were going to see some reductions in any case. So this will actually keep us on an even keel and hopefully growing.
I should probably say I'm offered. I mean, but I know that that's just not, that's unrealistic.
To drop it entirely right now would be kind of painful.
Yeah, right. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, this equipment needs to be replaced, and it sounds like it needs to be done now before everything.
Well,
I mean, not all of it, but.
yeah, and it's not really that dire. We do even still have spare parts for much of it.
Okay.
So, like right now, I'll get an email if one of the database servers throws a hard drive. I can go take care of that. You'll never know except maybe it's just got a little slower. So, there's plenty of buffer in there. And like I said, it's entirely possible that by the time we have half as much money as I think we'll need to be able to afford something so much better that we go ahead and get. So.
Because without any of the equipment, it's what, 118,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is what, so it's actually. And I mean, for whatever that is, I think it's very healthy, but that. Yeah, library.
Well, and that's somewhere we need these database servers, because we bring on some 5 million server year library, and it's all going taking that.
Well, and there are some of those libraries too that are not doing that right now, but as soon as they went to Evergreen, they would be.
Yeah.
That too.
Which, and ones that are being actively sorted, that I think is nice. Don't worry.
We can take it, yeah.
We can take it.
Fun times ahead.
Ethics and policy audit.
Okay, this is my idea. So I don't have the backing of any of the committees on this. This is just something that I have run across. I do a lot of paperwork with Evergreen. I spend a lot of time going back and forth when people call me up and say, I have no idea when I signed this piece of paperwork, but you send it to me. So I do spend quite a bit of time going through the folders, and most of the libraries have not completed, the directors have not completed a code of ethics form since the first director signed the original paperwork. Now, for some of our libraries, that means it's been 6 years, and I just want to make sure that not only the directors, but their staff are aware that we do observe a code of ethics. We do observe patron privacy, and I'd like to take this opportunity for directors to sit down with their staffs and remind them of that fact this fall. And it is actually written into the membership agreement. There are three sections in Article 3 of the membership agreement. C requires libraries to abide by the Code of Ethics, so it's helpful if people know about it. I would also, while I'm doing this, like to collect local policies, because one of the things I keep hearing from libraries is, yes, we observe Evergreen, but then there's this and that and the other and this that we just do at our location. That's fine. We don't have anything on the books that says you should not or cannot do that. But it's helpful for me if I'm going to committees and working with committees on policy development, if I know that making change X is going to dramatically impact 50% of the libraries, but I didn't have anything to guide me in that, unless I start polling everybody all the time, which I've gotten some excellent feedback from the community, but I don't want to wear everybody out with constant questions. Well, what do you do about this? So what I would like to do is send out a letter requesting that libraries submit copies of their both the staff form and the director form here. And on the back is actually an audit report. I'm not going to ask that libraries send in 3 million copies of the staff ethics code of ethics. I really am not concerned with that. I'd just like to know that they have taken the time to discuss it with their staff. If, as a matter of fact, if you have staff who've been around for a while and they signed one 10 years ago, that's fine too. I just need to know that they are aware of it. And ask them to send in any locally developed or locally exclusionary policies so that we are aware of them as we move forward.
I think it also needs to be talked about as a roundtable.
Yes.
Because I can tell you in the 2 Evergreen libraries, I've never signed one.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's very nice.
It's part.
I like that it's in color.
It's actually part of the membership agreement.
And that's what worries me, is that we were one of the private libraries that each county never saw anything like it. And then going to bigger.
Yeah, and it's something that I need to step up with, because we do have a lot of new directors coming in. I need to start sending this out as part of a Welcome to Evergreen program, but as kind of a catch-up, I'd like to go ahead and just do an audit. We do have it written in as an option in the membership agreement that the executive committee can request one.
So if you're going to do it at the roundtables, you probably need to change your date till after the last one.
I don't know, I think it can be done before that. There needs to be a discussion why it's important. I mean, we're going to do it at our next staff meeting. So.
Well, I mean, do you think October?
Too, so.
Do you think 6 weeks is too short a time period for everyone to hit all of their staff?
Maybe, because not everybody takes their Evergreen cards.
Can you roll this out in 2015? And the reason I'm suggesting that is I'm thinking you need to get yourself on a, I think this should be done every 3 years or every 2 years, and just make it Evergreen wide and then let everybody know about that. But the other part of it is, I know that I signed all these because I'm relatively new. So I know I've done this, and I know I have them, and I know I can apply. But I also think it feels like we're throwing a lot of new, and maybe it's just me, but I feel like, oh, okay, we're throwing another thing at them for this year. And I guess I would feel better about, let's start the year off with new with the audit. I mean, there's a reason why you need to have it done this fall. I'm just
the reason why we needed that.
And then that would give that time for the roundtable discussion and a couple more months, and then.
Yeah, I see your point, but I'm good with either way.
And I could see us bringing it up at the roundtable, saying, hey, this is coming, and this is why it's important, and you'll be saying this to never.
Yeah.
So that it's not like ever new.
Yeah,
I just missed it.
right.
Yeah, my only reason for the time frame was I just wanted to get it out of the way.
Okay.
It's been 6 years for a lot of libraries, and I was like, so yeah, that's why. But yeah.
What if, like, if it was brought up at the round table, told everybody, and then said, either staff do this, and then people would find it in this year, and that gives it, that's fine, I'm fine with that.
That work? Okay.
You must do this right now.
Yeah, well, and that will give everybody a full quarter to actually process and for me to reach out to them, because I find generally for every deadline it takes another 3 to 4 weeks to actually get everything in. So.
But are you then talking about doing an annual audit?
No, actually what I targeted was exactly what Mary said, was every 3 years, because it's going to be a lot of paperwork.
Sure.
Would it be better to break them up for thirds and do a third of them every year?
It would lessen the workload all at once, but keeping track of who's done what and when would have to play into that, because if you have library come in off cycle. I'm thinking here, 300 sheets of paper versus 100. I don't know. I don't think it sounds too bad.
Yeah, do your first one, we'll see.
I think actually the policy audit will be the more challenging part. But the more I can get that information in, the faster we can start actually actualizing consistent policy.
And does it have to be a paper?
No, I actually have a line on here. I will take electronic submissions. I'm fine with that. I mean, you need to have something signed somewhere, but I don't need it all mailed back to me.
Yeah.
And I will say that the Code of Ethics information has been incorporated into the asynchronous trainings. So when you have new employees coming on, it should just be part and parcel of their trainings going forward. But since those aren't quite live yet, still working on those.
Bonnie, do you know, did you have these updated? I mean, because these don't look exactly like what I signed. Have you changed them a little bit?
I've reformatted them to make them prettier, and the staff version does not include the line about ensuring that all of my staff will sign the paperwork.
Okay.
So that's the big difference. I thought I was just going to put out the staff, and I'm like, well, the directors are supposed to sign the one that says I will take responsibility for my staff. So there's two. And for the newer libraries, like I know Danville has already done this, North Madison has already done this, you probably did this when you came on. So if you've done it in the last couple of years, I don't expect libraries to go back and do a massive retraining, and just want to make sure that everyone's aware.
Over, you know, I don't have this part. Change it.
So are you all right with me going forward with this? And are there any other changes to the letter that you'd like to see me make?
Do you mind if we modify your form here to show that it becomes a group form? Because I'm thinking we have a staff day coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm just going to go through point by point real quick. Here they are. Everybody sign. On your way out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I was going to do is I have some libraries that only take things electronically. I have some libraries that only process stuff if they receive it in hard copy. So I will probably try to send out a hard copy to the libraries to work with, but I will also send an electronic version for the libraries that prefer that. So.
And then Anna, I just have a little suggestion. When I first saw this letter, I thought, oh crap, someone's in trouble, because it sounded so, I hereby notify you that the committee has voted. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm thinking, what'd they do? I can't wait to hear the scoop here. So I think we need to kind of change it around.
Soften it up a little.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of like.
It really does seem like you're.
Right, let's
Yeah.
get away from that and just say, okay, you know.
Just take out that hereby notify you. The committee has voted.
Well, just that we're just trying to maintain current records, or what it actually is.
It's time
Okay.
for the audit.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
But really, I was really kind of getting interested.
That's really boring then. Yeah.
Guess what? You're really confident now.
Yeah. That's true, and I think it was actually originally intended as a more punitive measure, which is part of why I would like to do it as a general, because we'd like to catch this before it has to be something that requires disciplinary or legal action. Okay, I'll try to come up with a softer entry and send it to you guys. We'll get the letter out later this week. So, yeah, poor Nick. That was just the address I had on the letterhead that I pulled up. So.
Think that, man, does Nick know?
So we are gonna send this letter out, we're not gonna wait until the roundtable.
I can add language to this that will indicate this will be a topic under discussion at the roundtables, since we're already updating it.
Okay.
And I've got an adjusted date of January 1 for submission.
So since it says here that the committee has
Please?
Do I have a motion to?
do you have a comment to this?
About this thing.
Send the letter out and to do the audit and to discuss it at the roundtable. So moved.
This will, it was.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks for the work on that.
Yeah, really.
This is probably going to be an early discussion, but I'm hearing from more and more libraries of all sizes that there is increased interest about the possibility of adding DVDs to the transit list.
Oh. Okay, that's done.
We hear your concerns, we acknowledge.
I'd be totally for it.
Yeah.
I would be so totally for it.
My patrons would love me and probably.
I know there are numerous issues that surround it, but amongst them are what would transit then? Are there limits on what collections you would allow under the DVD or CD heading? One of the things I put as a line item on the budget, which we may be able to actually make happen earlier, if this is something that we decide to pursue as a consortium, would be purchasing media shipping cases. InShare already has them, and their sturdy cardboard boxes would hold 6 DVDs so that you don't have the same risk of someone dropping a book on it and smashing your case and contents. If we did that, I'd like to get something that we could actually brand so that it's obviously ours, and if it happens to make its way outside of the consortium, it comes back. And also part of the discussion is we have probably 25% of our libraries do not allow media circulation to juveniles. If they're allowed to put holds on and the items transit in, do we invalidate that local policy? How do we encourage that? We have other libraries that have session limits. You can check out 10 DVDs total, but you can only check out 2 at a time, kind of thing. Well, we have some libraries that have smaller media collections, and they remain concerned about protecting them.
5 times during the day.
They could potentially. It requires a great deal of manual work, but some of the libraries have chosen to take that route. But again, if we offer media transits, that will override their policies. So we are going to have to work on, if we do go forward with it, we will need to do some education and encourage some of the libraries to become more open in their media lending policies.
Is it a potential to only, I mean, because this would be different from our general lending anyway, so we would still have, or is it possible to just have adult type cards rather than the limited access cards that could do this? I mean, we don't have resident limited access, have access to this kind of transmitting.
Permanently within your system, I think these can transit.
It can.
Yeah, but.
Right, but I'm saying that if somebody was putting, because what I'm understanding is this, I want to put a hold on something that Cheryl has at her library, she'd send me a DVD, but only give that ability to adult status cards rather than juvenile status.
It would be a lot harder. And really then what we're doing is taking the more restrictive library policy, applying them to everyone instead of the other way around.
Well, if you want to go that route, for reasons that far predate me by decades, our library doesn't collect our reading. So this would directly circumvent our collection policy. One of the first things she said when I took the job, we're going to start collecting our reading. And that, on the other hand, and my immediate response was, what now was, this isn't our collection.
No.
It doesn't really violate. It's the circulation policy, it's the collection development policy. And so, yeah.
My concern is I do have a good movie collection, and I do collect R-rated movies. So all my R-rated movies is gonna go there.
That's
true. I mean, it's a huge part of my circulation. And, you know, I have really increased my spending in DVDs last few years. And you can see it in my circulation. I mean, in my circulation in DVDs goes up 3% every year. And I guess that's my concern, because basically, you know, there's not that many on my shelf as it is, and if you're going to get some Asians and Facebook and others,
Yeah. It needs to go into a pilot if we decide to do anything.
And I would be curious to see, I mean, I know I have individual patrons who are also going, gosh, why can't I get this movie from Lionsville or whatever, and I have to explain to them that it's circulated. And this
They can drive.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, but, you know, to me, like, my movies really drive a lot of my incredibly high turnover items. I get people in my library who come in daily just to see what movies are in. And if there's never any movies on my shelf, it's going to change the tone of how I do business. And the fact that if it's taking a week to go there, and then someone else has a quote on it, and
Right.
someone else has their friend they have a quote on it.
Wasn't that the original objection to transiting? It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you only have 1 week loan period, and you're going to transit it for, what, 5 of those days?
But don't we have I'm sorry,
No.
but we have the 6 months something else. So,
Well, and this probably would not affect new DVDs.
Right.
It would be like new books. They would stay at your library for the first, say, year that you had them.
Yeah, and again, my concern is there's a popular book out, none of them are on my shelves, and that's fine, I don't care. But when it comes to some movies, there might be 10 copies of one, and I might have 2 of them, and my patrons are going to be able to get to them if they already have my system. I hate to do that right. But it's just that it's such a smaller collection, you know, I mean, I do have a big movie collection, but it's really a relatively small part of my collection. I don't know, I do have that concern that my movie collection is gone when it really is something I can stand a lot
See, I think it depends on where you're at.
Yeah, where I'm at, and we're kind of the center of the county, and not that big of a county.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing a whole different trend. It's Netflix, it's Amazon Prime, it's all those other things. Don't get me wrong, I still have a good search there, but my numbers are going down. So I would rather have them out somewhere across the state than sitting on the shelf.
And I guess the other thing I see too is that, I'm not far from Morrisville and Plainfield, and all three of us have. And so my patrons will continually make the rounds. And so, I probably send a piece of movies back to Plainfield every week. I would be curious to see what the Evergreen libraries think. But I have some patrons who always said, oh, we love the first movie, but I'd like to hear how many Evergreen libraries say I want.
Well, and that's the thing, because they're thinking of one perspective. I'm getting access to more movies, but they're not thinking about, I'm also getting access to everybody else to have more.
Actually, that's usually, the second one is usually the response I get first. When I say something about transit movies, my movies will be gone.
From library, but not from people.
No.
Yeah.
What is because for our library, I was at Kendallville first, and Kendallville was like 40% sent out, died. Since I've been at Columbia City, we're the opposite. We're 60 out, 40 in. Are you guys, is that what your ratio is of what goes out and what comes in? You send more out than you bring in? Okay. Yeah, we're the same way.
Which is great, I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't have much of it.
Right.
Well, here's another thought, that I don't know if this will work for everything. Would there be a way for staff to generate some sort of override to request more time, rather than let everything really work? Because the things that I'm seeking for my people, it is not the latest thing. I'm looking at the agency version of Tempest. I have that down. I have to do all these bathroom deals and do this. Do the ILL for students, all of that, and say, hey, can you slip my experience back?
That's what I can say is for educational purposes. And I don't have a problem with that. If anybody needs one,
Well, we could have something working
follow
on.
it up.
This would be nice if we would take some of the steps back. Is it possible that we can set up like a much longer load protection meeting for like a severe load protection setup?
Protection policies are just another set of.
Right, because right now it's like the 3-6, and we add like a 2-year thing, and then.
How long do your movies last?
It depends on the movie.
I've got movies that I've had for 10 or 15 years now, because we do have a disc cleaner. So if they start getting scratched, we've got one of those time machines. Yeah, pretty much.
But if they're not lasting, that means they're circulating in-house.
Right.
In our patron base, and that's, we don't care about that, that's great, we want that.
Well, the other concern with that, though, is if you set the period to be too long, it might go out, fill 2 holes, and then you just ditch it.
I know.
Well, and the other hitch to adding a longer age protection is it will apply to anything. So if someone chose to use it on books,
That's a level of policing that I could automate, but I'd rather not have to.
absolutely. Well, and I think this is definitely something for the roundtables.
Yeah.
To get some on-the-ground feedback. I'm hearing from, like as I said, libraries of all sizes. So it's not just the medium or larger libraries that are saying they're interested. I'm hearing from Class Cs who are interested in participating in it. So it's.
How do you join Evergreen? You have to allow So this was a big shock to my staff. Telling you, resin all over the state, they're going.
It is a municipality,
It is.
because, I mean, it has been, and I know from my friend right now, where it's on stuff,
Yeah.
like, whatever,
Yeah.
oh,
And,
that's cool.
and I think I'd be more comfortable if I felt more of my patron base was comfortable about actually doing it. But again, I have such a high percentage of people about who think about actually the internet, no idea how to learn it. Yeah, well, that and the fact that they, you know, even if you can put a hold on that, they never would. Right. So if there's nothing on the shelf, that means they're not, although again, if it's on the shelf, you know, it's good.
I do think it needs I'm afraid that things might go out.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other things that is a possibility would be to have breakout collections and have a shelving location in your media department that was not holdable.
Non-fiction DVDs.
And that way, if there was high demand titles, they just always would sit there. You wouldn't have to worry about whether or not your patrons could put holds on them, whether or not they aren't holdable, they're not going anywhere, they're there for immediate use. That would be one
I could see
option.
that, you know, it's like a lot of people.
That would
I got all the tree blood, I got all the little.
Did I mention that our low R rating movie things so long ago vision? So the shelf is sitting like Rome, blood.
It's not our.
We get declared certain things are rated, you mean like overgrown and things like that.
We got 15 minutes, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, the next 2 points are yours.
Well,
If you want to go.
Okay.
We can come back to
this
this
would be
one.
good
Yeah.
before the round table.
Or do you want to talk about it?
I really want to do the circuit thing.
Okay. Okay. Jason has to leave, but
Okay.
we need to jump forward.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is like a couple of you have mentioned, this would be a good thing to hear about at the round table. And I'll be at all of those to either dump water on your ideas or tell you about how good they are.
It's none of your plan.
So,
Mobile app is what I had next.
that's okay. Mary let me know that Allen County has developed their own application because the one Cersei was going to let them use was not that good. I'm not surprised. Yeah, okay.
This is not being recorded.
So, since they went to the trouble to make this on their own, and you know, if it's a library, they're not going to sell it. They've decided that they're going to give us the source code to it so that we could work with it. That does not mean that we're going to get anything out of it, because I'm willing to bet that most of the code involved is directly for speaking with the Cersei server that will help us absolutely nothing. So, it is at least very slick, very fast, works well and modern and all that good stuff. So, they haven't gotten back with her yet, but as soon as I know more about it, as soon as I have it, I can start running it on my computer at home to figure out how I can make it work with Evergreen. And with any luck, there will be something halfway useful. I'm not going to give you a time frame. Like I said, I don't know if we'll be able to use any of it, but we will at least have a head start if we're going to have something.
I have to tell you, I was shocked, because I called and I said, you guys have a really great app, is there a way I can buy the code? And she said, oh, we've been wanting to give it away, because the Cersei Consortia group that meetings, and they've been wanting to give it away, and nobody has taken them up on this. So I am the only library that said, hey, we want to use it, they know we're Evergreen. But what she has to do is,
they have to have some sort of license, I'm not sure what that's about. But yeah, they're gonna give it to us free, and she just needs to run everything past their attorney, and then she'll send it to me. Because I really like it, so.
I'm willing to bet that license is about the distribution of their code, so they want to make sure that there's something that can't go away. That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, well, that's good.
And if they have to tear out all the Cersei stuff, well, it's anyway, I can't use it.
Might be kind of nice if they do that before you get it.
Well, I'll be able to tell pretty quick what will work. But yeah, if you want to grab this, I think if you just start searching for Allen County Public Library in the iOS App Store, there's only 2 results. Your other app's also pretty neat, but I'm fairly certain we can't do anything with that that's really tied to their bid programs. And then we come to anonymizing circulation, old ones in particular. A lot of places do this already. And in addition to the patron privacy angle, which is important, I realize, my favorite part is that there's also a speed increase with this, because there are a lot of things that will look at open circulations, and if we have 6 years worth of basically dead circs just in the way, these things run slower. So what we're talking about doing is anonymizing the circ after it has been closed and paid for 2 years. So the odds of you really caring about it are extremely slim. And as far as counting circs, like if you wanted to do a different type of report on a circ, like how you did 3 years ago during summer reading, you can still get these numbers. You just have to use a different source for your report, because you won't have any access to patron information. Just things like their profile and some generic aggregated user information, I think is what phone companies call it, and they give it all to the NSA. It's also something that we could exempt if, say, patrons have turned on that circ tracking in the catalog and they don't want to keep checking out the same books. I can tell it, don't clear these out because they'll lose their lists. Some people get real picky about that when they've got a good circ list going. And like the notes say here, don't close anything if you owe a bunch of money, or if they owe you money. And even if they are removed, nothing would be lost as far as bills go. And that's about it. I just didn't cover quite that order. So, does that sound like something we want to pursue? We want to talk about it at roundtable?
Is there a reason why 2 years?
I'm not particularly in favor of any particular time frame. I do want at least 1 full year, because that helps a lot with the annual report. Oh yeah, it can be stretched out.
But it would really significantly affect that.
I don't think it would be, obviously wouldn't be any worse than it is.
Well,
I don't think it would be that bad.
Yeah,
And just doing
it's
something will contain how much slower things get. So 3 years is probably fine.
I usually like 2 years. Probably not. Maybe less than 3 years.
Yeah, library card report, 2 years.
Library card cleanup is
At least
every
every
3 years. Yeah.
That makes you good. Yeah, my best, yeah.
Right. And I'm not sure that
Are there downsides?
Well, when there shouldn't be any downsides 3 years out. But how many people say, well, I want to know everyone who's ever checked out this thing because there's a market back. I don't know.
Yeah.
How much yeah.
But it still gives you how many times the book is checked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
And you have to run a pretty deep report to get 3 years back of circs on a patron anyway.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's, I mean, I just don't know. That's all. If everybody decides to, I'm gonna just roll it. Not to be out.
I think you make a good point, Mary, that, you know, if something else is 3, then we should just keep it 3 and just with that, that's fine.
I think it's a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you want me to start looking into it, going along, I think this is definitely a vote type thing, or do you just want me to learn more about it and talk about it later?
We have a motion to do this after 3 years.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I like it for the patient privacy thing.
I do too.
I like having access to all the information.
Before I leave real quick, we've made a bunch of changes official, haven't given them a date. Is there any time you would like for me to turn these on, or?
You okay with implementation as
we can always
we can
go
fit it in?
Yeah.
as-
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go out for a weekly update.
Do you, 2 weeks notice, or does it's happening now?
I'm not sure that it's actually necessary.
I would agree with that, but I just want to.
I will send out the usual release after this meeting tomorrow at some point. It talks about all the things that we've changed and tell people to look for them in the immediate future. My work.
All right. 'Cause I know soft stalling will probably be turned on tomorrow because people have been missing it for a long time.
Well, and most of these things are all functionality rather than taking, they're not taking.
We're only making a little more work.
Age, I just wonder if you did anything on it.
Yeah.
Only allow
Okay. Right, the next meeting's in October.
That's cycle unless there's something else someone's aware of. The only thing I can think of is this is the day after a holiday. So the state observes it as a holiday. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, never mind. Get the holiday.
Do you have anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion.
Second. Go. All right. I think we're adjourned. Good job, Cheryl.
I'll see everybody
Okay.
on the road.
Anna does all the work.
Yeah.